Hello and welcome back to our little corner of central Portugal. This week we're tidying up a few of the jobs we started last year. Beside the tiny house we have an entrance gate with some rough parking. We need it to be a flat space to park and for deliveries to be dropped off. Back in November, our friends Becky and Michael from Portugal on a Postcard helped us out with some rubble to fill the trench. There's always room for a bit more, but sooner or later it has to be compacted down to make an even surface. So we've arranged for someone to come with a machine to have a go at it. But it's still quite chunky stuff, so we'll see how that goes.
I think the conclusion is it's good, but it's not great. It does do some flattening down okay, but the bigger lumps still need to be broken up a bit more than they are now.
Excellent, the delivery driver has turned up really quickly. We only went to order some gravel 5 minutes ago and he's already here. Service around here is amazing. Just got to do the manoeuvre now to try and figure out how he can tip the stuff, because we want him to bring it all the way down here. Okay, so it turns out it's going to go over there, I think. Maybe he doesn't feel safe to come all the way down with such a heavy load. Now all we got to do is spread it out. Might take a while.
So what are my takeaways from that? Well, the rubble isn't deep enough or compacted enough to carry the truck. So we've had to have the delivery over here. So I think the next plan will be to take this pile and try to make the entrance area as robust and as solid as possible, and probably then use where they've dumped it there as the sort of standard dumping size, and then we're going to have to move it manually across the driveway. Getting them to go too far up is clearly a non-starter. So I'm going to have to do some repair work down here, because where he spun the wheels in, he's dug a bit of a trench, so there's a bit of a trench got dug down there. But what he's done is he's displaced the soil underneath, and the soil's probably quite soft still with all the rain, up onto here. So I'm going to see if I can find a way to bash that down. I doubt I will. So similarly, there's a bump. So there's a bump there, hollow bump here. And I suspect I'm going to have to sweep away the rubble and cut the weed fabric, and then get the shovel in to level that back out, replace the weed fabric, and start again. But all in all, you know, lessons learned. That's how we do these things. But what we do have is a nice lump of gravel that I can start to make the beginnings of our entrance pathway. More heavy work. Right, there's no guaranteeing on the steering lock of this car, and we shall see how we go.
This was when Phil discovered that the Renault has a turning circle a bit like a supertanker. The gravel was holding up nicely, but we would need a much bigger surface area to turn this car around. It was compacting the gravel though, but a bit more driving over it like this would do the job eventually.
Stop, Phil.
That was harder work than it needed to be.
Oh, you were so close to the tree though, you were going over the lump around it.
This delivery was 4 cubic metres. It'll probably take another 4 or 5 loads to finish the job off though. So I think we'll do it bit by bit as we go through this year. We'll see how we get on. We might need to call out the heavy machinery if it gets a bit overwhelming. At at this time of year, when the trees are dormant, we can carry on a bit more with the trimming and pruning of the olive and fruit trees. And this is the candidate for today's olive tree pruning. He's pretty big. He goes all the way up into the canopy up there. And he's in a bit of a shady spot, but fingers crossed if we give him a good cut back, he might just recover again. The trees always look pretty scalped when we've finished dealing with them, but we're learning how resilient they are and how much clearing up there is after one of these sessions. In a recent episode, you'll have seen us finish the outdoor kitchen roof, but it's still not completely finished. A few final touches remain.
Can't believe how lucky we're being with the weather. This is another beautiful morning. So out and about again, and today doing something which has been one of my eternal weaknesses in the DIY world, which is the sort of the finishing off. I'm very good. I'm naturally inclined to get things to be functional, and I then tend to skip on to the next job because there's always something else to do. But I really have to be a bit more smart about getting things finished, so drives Jane mad, but here we are. So having got the roof onto the outdoor kitchen, next job is the fascia boards, so we can enclose the woodwork from the outside view. These ones, the side ones, had to be taller because they had to go up underneath the corrugations on the roof panels. I've got to screw these ones down, but I've got to fit another one of these on the other side, and then a couple along the front. So back to measuring and beginning the process. $51, 5/10. Cool. So it's going to be two. These are slightly longer. These boards are slightly longer than a standard T&G. So I've got to have one and an extension piece, and then cut down because of the extra height another piece, and that I extend that at the other end, so you've got the staggered joints. Across the front and back it'll just be a single piece high, but again there'll be a joint because it's a lot longer than a single board. But yeah, 510. I need a big one and a little one at 510. Maintenance stop, as ever, when you're in the middle of a job. Been meaning to change this blade for a while, but never quite got around to it. So that's the old one. New one here, arrow pointing towards me. Always happens. If you're lucky, it falls out through the sawdust exhaust hole. Try again. There we go. It's a fiddly one to get the nuts started. Once it's all hanging off the thread, you can get it a lot better crimped up. There we go. There we go. All that remains is put the plate on, and we're good to go. This is the fascia board for the left hand side going over the roof of the utility room. So as you said before, it's a full width plus a little bit. It's all been glued together, clamped, and so now should be ready to release the clamps, cut the small bits to length, and hopefully that will then be the right length, good size for the side panel over there. Couple of coats of the preservative and probably get it up tomorrow morning. Back on the bug protection today. This is the fascia board down for the kitchen roof, but something I've observed is this timber that we get, which is, you know, standard softwood, but it's quite variable in its tone and the colours it adopts. You can see down this there is some most fantastic silvery grey. This gets exposed to the sun and this silvery grey tone comes up on it. Others have a much more orangey, but if they fade, if we're going to be just used as cladding like this, and they can fade to some lovely colours like that, I'll be very happy. We'll see how they go over the next few years, but just that tone, that silvery grey, it's a bit like you see larch cladding in the UK, goes that after a few years. That's lovely. Back up on the roof, and seems to be my usual place of work these days. So finishing touch today on the fascia boards. So I cut one and jointed it up yesterday. That's gone across over there. That's going to go in here and we'll tuck up underneath the ridge. So the fascia board will be same width as this timber, but in order to allow this ridge to screw down into it, I'm going to continue the line of the screws all across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws down this line. But the fascia board will then come up underneath and allow that to screw in, which means everything will go down the outside. It'll be nice and protected on the inside, and should be okay. I've got some clamps. I can do this solo today. Jane's off tagging trees, so I can do this solo. I've got some clamps, so I can clamp them at both ends, screw them in, relatively short order, then run the front and back face, and the job's a good one. It does need to be secured down a bit more than it is though. So you are going to need that end. I'll go up.
Tongue up.
Tongue up, yeah. So, I haven't cut the end off this. I haven't cut the tongue end off this.
The end of what?
Tongue end. Strip it over because I can use the, if I just put the, no, give it to me. Do we overlap the blocks?
We overlap one of the blocks.
Yeah. Can I screw into the block?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. So much snug with the bottom.
So it needs to be.
Are we on? Yeah.
Level with the bottom, so to speak. That's that end done. So now we've got to figure out how
and swap over. Or can I screw it left-handedly?
You...
Maybe not.
No, maybe not. So let's... Here we go. You come down. Can you reach that?
Yeah, no.
Good, you can go now. Fishboard.
Ooh. Half fishboard.
Half a fishboard.
It's better than no fishboard.
So now if you can go up there and put the
The other one.
end of the tape. No, I haven't got another one, I haven't cut it yet.
Oh right, okay.
The end of the tape against the inside of the... Not on the end of the
Not on
tongue.
the end of the tongue, yeah, on the end of the board. Yeah, end of the board. Try and thread it in the groove.
Yeah, I'll bash it towards you a little bit. Ready?
Yeah. One more. Fantastic. Just perfect. It's going to hold itself that. It doesn't need me holding it.
Come up
Bring it down?
Yeah, you can go down.
Are you done with me now?
Well, a bit harsh.
For now. I've got trees to tag.
Indeed.
Yes, for those of you who are wondering why I've got the funky apron on, if you've been watching it for a while, Phil's going to keep making noise when I'm talking.
Carry on.
If you've been watching the channel for a while, you've seen me go out before trying to tag all of our trees with a numbered tag, which is just like this. And what I'm doing is trying to geolocate all the trees and also work out exactly how many of each tree we've got on the property. I thought I'd done most of the left-hand side there before with my first 100 tags, but I've just been down there checking out and it turns out that I haven't. I've missed loads. So I've just done another 30 already and I'm going out to carry on.
Can I make noise again now?
You're allowed to make noise. I'm going. Bye.
Bye. So that's fascia board on the front. I'll do another one on the back now, but makes it look a lot more finished, a lot more like we hoped it would be. So very pleased. And Jane's off tagging trees. And there it is from the bottom side. So that will have a run of guttering, so we can collect the water, the rainwater that comes off that roof, and we'll go down to a tank, probably going to be mounted somewhere the other side of the solar panels. Solar panels will now go up onto the roof, but that's for the next trip. But that's another good job done for today.
Well, that's about it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us. If you'd like to see more of what we're doing here in Portugal, then please subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot, and so does pressing the like button. Your comments have been so supportive, and we've learnt a lot through your suggestions too. So thanks again, take care, and we'll see you again next week. Phil will be back up on yet another roof. I think he prefers the view from up there.